In this episode of Living the Dream, we talk about various frameworks to overcome fears, insecurities, how to get clarity in career, and understanding the relationship with money and much more. And we have with us Sarthak Ahuja, who is the youngest Indian to have completed 4 degrees in CA, CS, CMA, BFIA, all by the age of 23. A gold medalist from ISB Hyderabad, lot of wisdom to share. Do listen to this podcast till the end, as you will get to know what you have probably not known before. Yes. So, how do you help any Indian student who plans to have a career कि जो उसे करना चाहिए? Can there be any framework, any guidelines कि यार तुम इसको इस path से follow करो, because parents might not know the exact path या फिर exact interest of that child. So what is your recommendation for any like 20-year-old?
So I think होता क्या है, it's a discovery process. Anyone who's figured उनको क्या करना है, you know, maybe they figured कि उनको अगले 2-4 साल में क्या करना है. हो सकता है 5 साल बाद दुनिया इतनी बदल जाए या दुनिया में नीड कोई और हो, या आप स्पिरिचुअली, मेंटली, फिजिकली ऐसे इवॉल्व और मच्योर हो दैट यू आर ऑल्सो a being who's constantly changing and learning. That maybe what you want to do today can be very different from what you want to do 5 years down the line.
So true.
So I feel careers are also evolving, where 20 years ago no one knew that people would want to be a YouTuber, so to say, or a content creator, but it's a wonderful field. It teaches people so much about, you know, just understanding consumer behavior. How can people add value in other people's lives who are watching your content? How should content be structured? There's a lot of science and art that goes behind these professions as well. So I feel on a first principles, bare basic level, the thing that is required is curiosity. If your parents or your environment can imbibe in you a sense of curiosity about everything. For example, आप अगर किसी का content YouTube पे देखते हो और आपको लगता है कि अच्छा इसने ये content बनाया, तो इसका process क्या रहा होगा, इसने ये topic कैसे सोचा, उसके बारे में कहाँ रिसर्च करा होगा, शूट करने में इक्विपमेंट क्या यूज़ करा होगा, एडिट में कितना टाइम जाता है, अपलोड में कितना टाइम जाता है, इसने इतनी एड्स प्लेस करी, उससे रेवेन्यू कितना आया, इसका खर्चा क्या हुआ होगा, अरे इतना पैसा बच गया होगा, या इतना नहीं बचा होगा, ये तो बस अपने एक तरह से हॉबी चला रहा है, शायद पैसा कुछ नहीं कमा रहा. यू नो, जस्ट asking those questions about everything you literally see is something which can really help you identify trends in the world. And once you identify दुनिया कहाँ जा रही है, क्या हो रहा है, and you want to add value in some place, suddenly आपको ना, जैसे कहते हैं ना, दरवाजे ठकठकाओ तो कुछ ना कुछ अपॉर्चुनिटी खुल जाती है. आई थिंक इफ योर क्यूरियोसिटी फ्यूल्स यू टू लुक इट एंड आइडेंटिफाई ट्रेंड्स इन द मार्केट, and then you see, oh, this is a trend which is really exciting me. I want to see how I can be a part of it and add value to other people's lives. And when I'm adding value to other people's lives, it's going to lead to, you know, some kind of revenue and money for me. And that's where things start falling into place. So I feel, and like I say, the half-life of every career today is no more than 5 years. आप जो भी कर रहे हो अगले 5 साल में हो सकता है वो ऑटोमेट हो जाएगा, वो प्रोडक्टाइज हो जाएगा, वो एआई के थ्रू हो रहा होगा, या बैरियर टू एंट्री फॉर दैट पर्टिकुलर फंक्शन वुड हैव गॉन डाउन सो लो दैट एनीवन कैन नाउ डू इट यूजिंग जस्ट टेक्नोलॉजी एंड दे मे नॉट नीड यू. So what will happen that you've made money for 5 years and then suddenly you're irrelevant, which is why career is constantly evolving.
So I mean, like looking at the youngsters who might have those insecurities कि अभी हमें आता ही कितना है, we are not as good as compared to those whom we see on social media कि वो उनको इतनी knowledge है. I remember starting में I had a similar fear कि मुझे कोई क्यों सुनेगा. जो corporate trainings होती हैं वहाँ पे you need to have like grey hair जब तक आपको एक्सेप्ट करेंगे कि आप आइए, एंड 20-year-old समथिंग को दे वोंट लिसन. सो इवन आई रिमेंबर स्टार्टिंग विद द कॉलेजेस वाज अ सेफ ऑप्शन फॉर मी कि मुझे कम जजमेंट मिलेगा. दे विल एक्सेप्ट मी बिकॉज आई हैव स्पेंड फ्यू इन द इंडस्ट्री, आई हैव सर्टन ईयर्स ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस. तो वो एक सेफ ग्राउंड था एंड ग्रेजुअली बिल्ड करते करते. तो आई थिंक वन लर्निंग फॉर एवरी पर्सन हु हैज़ दिस फियर ऑफ बीइंग जज्ड, वो क्या होगा?
वन लर्निंग इज, आई विल टेल यू, आपको फियर ये है कि आपको पता उतना नहीं है. आप कुछ बोलोगे जो गलत प्रूव हो जाएगा,
ऐसा हमें लगता है.
ऐसा हमें लगता है
हमें.
तो मुझे लगता है अगर ऐसी चीज़ है, मैंने जब कंटेंट भी शुरू करा, आई स्टार्ट मेकिंग कंटेंट ऑन 3 buckets. देयर वाज टैक्स, फाइनेंस एंड स्टार्टअप्स. वेयर आई फेल्ट टैक्स तो ऐसा है, कोई मुझसे कुछ भी पूछ ले मैं जवाब दे दूंगा, मैं ठीक ही जवाब दूंगा मोस्ट केसेस. चांस ऑफ जजमेंट इज वेरी लो. Finance is something I know a fair basic, but of course I'll brush up my skills and that's more of a need in the market. Consumer को finance ज़्यादा चाहिए तो मैं finance पे भी बनाऊंगा. And startups is the place of my business. That's where my B2B business comes from. Which is why that's a need and I probably need to constantly keep upskilling there. So I used one topic which I was confident about as a place to build credibility. And 2 other topics where I was still a learner and continue to be a continuous learner. As इससे credibility establish होगी, कुछ गलत तो नहीं बोलूँगा और धीरे धीरे रिसर्च करके बाकी चीज़ों पे भी बोलता जाऊँगा. तो आई फील फॉर anyone who's scared, remove all elements that scare you. If it's an audience that scares you, start doing it on camera for your own self. Start making content which you can edit, modify, correct and push out. That's one. If another way for you to do it live is just find an audience which would not judge you. And of course it all comes down to you should have something of value to give. अगर आपके पास कुछ काम की चीज़ बताने को नहीं है, then the bare basic step is to get upskilled and learn something which people want to learn from you.
True. मुझे लगता है कि we don't know everything about everything and nobody knows it. And we judge ourselves कि I should be an expert. वो जो बर्डन है ना यहाँ पे इन शोल्डर्स पे इतना ज़्यादा हो जाता है कि वी जस्ट फील कि मे बी 100 लोगों की ऑडियंस में इफ़ लाइक 5 people नो मोर देन मी, वो हो सकता है, वो हमेशा होगा. यू विल हैव एक्सपर्ट्स एंड यू एक्सेप्ट दैट जितना मैं प्रिपेयर कर सकता था आज की डेट तक वो मुझे आता है. एंड दैट्स व्हाट आई एम लाइक ऑफरिंग. अगर सपोज उनको समझ नहीं आता है, सो प्रोबेबली दे शुड फाइंड समवन एल्स एज अ स्पीकर, एज अ मेंटोर, नॉट मी. What do you say about this?
So this reminds me of this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which says that shuru mein, when you don't know anything, you know nothing about that subject. But when you know a little bit, you do a little bit of research, suddenly you feel, oh, I know everything about this, I'm an expert. And the more you dig deeper into that subject, the realization kicks in that I know so little. So the curve is such, when initially you don't know anything, gradually when you know a little bit, you start feeling, oh, अब मेरे को काफ़ी सब कुछ पता लग गया. But then when you dig deeper, you realize there are so many exceptions to the rule and इतना कुछ है जो नहीं पता, जो सीखना है और सीखने को बाकी है to become an expert in that subject. So this also tells us that I feel when I'm training people in corporates about certain aspects of business and finance, and they ask me a question which I don't know, I feel overjoyed now. मेरे को खुशी होती है and I'm very comfortable saying मेरे को ये नहीं पता, but आपने क्या कमाल का सवाल पूछा है ना, अब मैं ये इसका आंसर ढूंढ के आपको बताऊंगा तो सही. And it's a moment of joy because wow, this is one aspect in this field I have no idea about, but it's given me a lead to go dig deeper, find that answer and give it to a broader audience and solve their problem. But that confidence or that joy can only come where you feel at least 90% of what you're saying is actually adding value to your audience. And they will also be forgiving to you for being human कि हाँ कुछ नहीं पता तो ठीक है, but इतना कुछ तो दिया ना. तो जब तक आपके पास इतना कुछ देने को नहीं है, you are probably not in the position to say कि मेरे को नहीं पता. You're not in the position to even go in front of an audience. But once you get it, start going to an audience where you can add at least 90% of what you say is new information to them. Or like I say, 10x value. Whatever people are paying you in terms of money, you need to add 10 times the value in terms of either effort saved, time saved, money saved. it has to be 10x
And this is
value.
applicable not just for the speakers or the coaches, it is for the employees as well.
Everything.
That the value that you bring to your employer should be at least 10 times.
100%.
So can we say that हम बात करते हैं about Ikigai, the Japanese concept about fulfillment and about what you do and why you do, जो आप आज experience कर पा रहे हो, but then those initial years of your life where you were following a path which was not meant for you, जैसा आपको लगा उस समय, was helping you in some way to inch towards your Ikigai. Because
100%.
the credibility that you build because of your qualifications, because of your parents support and the environment. Today, आप उसी field में हो, आप finance या business के field में ही हो, which would not have been possible if you were not dog trained back then, right? Do you think that ways?
Correct. I mean, as they call it, the butterfly effect, that even if, you go back in history and there was a butterfly somewhere sitting on a flower, and had they not flapped that wing at that 1 second, the world would have changed, because कितनी छोटी छोटी चीज़ें हैं which add up to what you are and what the world is and what your family is today. And you change anything and the entire trajectory of your life would change. So another framework that I really believe in is no regrets. I feel whatever I am today is because of everything that happened in the past which has led to this. So if you were to say कि नहीं, काश मैंने इतने साल खराब नहीं करे होते वो पढ़ने में, जो शायद बहुत लोगों को ऐसे लगता है. I think that's a very wrong approach, because if I am doing any kind of work today which I find extremely fulfilling, that's because of all of those things compounding and coming together, and you don't know how they contribute to the next possible step and to some opportunity which maybe we're unable to see. So I think we should never have that lack of gratitude towards our life and towards our environment and what has shaped us, because there are so many things which are not visible to the eyes but are shaping the way we are. I feel I am still an adolescent. I'm still just 12 years of age. There is so much left to do. तो I think किसी भी point पे अगर किसी को लगता ना अरे अब तो बहुत देर हो गई, वो mindset ही change करना पड़ेगा, because अभी तो कितनी जिंदगी पड़ी है यार क्या करने को. मतलब there are inspiring people, for people who are watching this or listening to this probably know of Mr. Ankur Warikoo. Think of it, yeah, at the age of 40 he changed his life, he changed his career, he's on a completely different trajectory. Why? Because he felt that yeah, even at 40 I can start. Falguni Nayar at 50 could start a new business and take it to IPO. And of course her background helps, and it all added up. But she did not limit herself to okay, I'm a banker, I'm the MD of Kotak Investment Banking, so what's next? I can be MD of HSBC, or I can go to the US. And no, streams can change and one has to evolve.
Absolutely. I think same for Ankur as well. He could have been like, ठीक है मैं तो एक entrepreneur हूँ, मुझे इसी field में रहना है. But today, as a content creator and adding so much of value, so this is for everyone out here जो भी हमको सुन रहा है, कि they should be keeping aside their insecurities, क्योंकि वो सबके साथ हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि some people are born with it and some people are not. चाहे किसी के पास बैकिंग हो, किसी के पास बैकिंग नहीं हो, सबके अपने अपने इनसिक्योरिटीज़ हैं. कहते हैं ना कि फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड प्रॉब्लम्स एंड द थर्ड वर्ल्ड प्रॉब्लम्स. किसी के लिए लाइवलीहुड इज़ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, किसी के लिए द मेंटल हेल्थ डिसऑर्डर इज़ अ बिग प्रॉब्लम. तो शायद वी वुड नेवर, कभी मुझे ऐसा महसूस नहीं हुआ कि अर्निंग अ लाइवलीहुड, कि घर पे छत नहीं है या फिर खाने को नहीं है, ऐसा महसूस नहीं हुआ. लेकिन यू हैड योर ओन शेयर ऑफ चैलेंजेस, तो वो सभी के साथ होंगे. सो एज अ यंगस्टर यू शुड नॉट बी stopping ourselves just because कि यार I'm not that privileged. Everyone is privileged in their own accord. And then staying curious कि इस समय मैं अपना best क्या कर सकता हूँ, and like keeping an eye कि what is coming in the next maybe 1 year or so. इतना अगर हम लोग focus कर लें, that is good enough, because in the end it will connect. Yes?
Correct. 100%. तो business की सबसे बड़ी learning है, जब आप सोचते हो ना कि मैं profit कमा लूँगा किस चीज़ में, तो if you ask all successful entrepreneurs, or if you study like actually deep down and study like data on companies that have done well, you'll see there's this book called Good to Great by Mr. Jim Collins.
Jim Collins, yeah.
He studied about I think 1400 companies who had been part of the Fortune 500 set in the US for over a decade. And then out of those 1400, he came down to just 11 companies which constantly outperformed the market return. And then he started recognizing what are the common threads in all of those companies because of which they could constantly outperform. So, there's one thing called timing, another thing called tech, another thing you could say is helping the market tide, or something is helping a business. But what is that common thread? That common thread for those companies and the CEOs was that we have to add value to the market. We have to there is a gap or a problem in the market, and we are going to solve that problem. And because we solve that problem and give 10x value, I will always charge just enough. मैं अगर 100 रुपये चार्ज कर रहा हूँ, बट लोगों को लग रहा है 1000 रुपये की चीज़ मुझे 100 रुपये में मिल रही है, that's where you really create an impact. And you create an impact at such a large scale that automatically you start becoming profitable. So the framework of business, which is also taught for startups and everywhere, is not to think where can I make money, but start from the question, where is there a problem in the market which I can solve? Can I solve it through a solution which is 10 times better than the existing solution in the market? Because only then can I charge a 10x value proposition. Like I can charge that money and I can create an impact. And then if I'm making money, your next level could be, अच्छा इतना पैसा कमा लिया, I want to invest and help other startups grow who are trying to create an impact. And I want to do philanthropy and give away donations. But the first question is, what problem am I solving for people? Same question applies in your relationships. Same question applies even for yourself. आज की डेट में मेरे लाइफ में क्या प्रॉब्लम है, क्या फियर है? ज़्यादातर प्रॉब्लम्स, अगर पैसा वैसा सब सॉर्ट हो गया तो दिमाग में कुछ होता है, कोई डर होता है, कोई इनसिक्योरिटी होती है. वो क्या प्रॉब्लम है जिसको मैंने सॉल्व करना है, 10 टाइम्स बेटर करना है, उस पर अगर लग गए, देन द नेक्स्ट स्टेप इन द फ्रेमवर्क इज फाइंडिंग आउट input metrics and output metrics. Your output metric is, I want to be able to say train or do public speaking in front of 1000 people. But how do you control it? There has to be an input metric that you do every single day. So you're like, okay, maybe I'll start with creating content every single day. Or maybe I'll start with just training 5 people. And then add like next week I should be doing 6. The week after I should be doing 10. Just making it easy on yourself and controlling कि पैसा वैसा आ जाता है generally. If you're adding value, I feel पैसा हमेशा आता है.
So true. लेकिन जो एक रिश्ता है like पैसे के साथ, वो बहुत अलग होता है. When we are raised in those families where हमेशा से पैसा was the evil force. So how was it for you when you were like growing up, your equation with money and the mindset around money?
See, I think thankfully, I think money was never shown in negative light in my family. And that's probably because both my parents were CAs and they would handle money for people and they would see it. So it was never negative light, but I do remember those times like back in my youth where financial means were limited and my parents had definitely elevated the status of the family from where they had come. But they were trying to give me even better. So they were putting me in a school where my peers came from families which were much better financially elevated than ours. And there you look at your peers and certain needs arise. And my parents put me in music class and this class and that class. And for all of these classes, you also need resources apart from just paying the tuition fee for those classes. You need paraphernalia. Like I needed like a synthesizer of a particular quality because my instructor asked for it. And I remember a time I was really young, probably 6 years of age when I was signed up for that class, and the instructor asked for a synthesizer, which was at that time really costly for our family. And of course my parents didn't tell me that, but I realized much later that there was an emergency light that they had bought for their office because bijli bahut jati thi, and suddenly that emergency light wasn't there, which had just appeared, and it was probably returned, and in place of that came, and I realized that much later in my life. But I think just realizing that at a point young enough made me realize that okay, making money is not bad. What is bad is wasting money. मतलब जितनी तुम्हारी नीड है, पैर तो ना जितने फैला लो ना कम है. मतलब you can probably want to have 300 pairs of shoes and 500 watches and these many cars and whatever. It will never be fulfilled. It's a human nature that the more you have, the more you're dissatisfied with what you have, because now your next goal is much larger and much more difficult to achieve, and you also start elevating your social status and the circle you identify
with,
yourself with. So now if you're elevating your social circles, suddenly everyone's goals that you see are much larger. You will never feel satisfied with what you have, and you're on that constant treadmill.
So how much money is more money then?
I think like in personal finance, they say there's this concept of FIRE, which is financial independence, retire early, which is itna paisa bana lo,
कितना बना लो?
which is different for everyone, but a thumb rule that people tend to say is collect as much that whatever is your spend. Imagine someone is married, has a family, and has a certain routine idea of what will be spending per annum on food, lodging, all needs, everything. Ideally, your corpus should be big enough that 4% of that corpus can take care of your annual expenses.
To give an example?
To give an example, for example, अगर आपको लगता है कि 40 लाख रुपए आपको साल के अगर मिल जाए, तो आपका रहना, खाना, बच्चों की पढ़ाई, मेडिकल नीड्स, एक एनुअल फॉरेन वेकेशन, ये वो सब निकल जाएगा. तो 40 लाख would be 4% of a 10 crore corpus. इसका मतलब 10 करोड़ का कॉर्पस अगर आपने बना लिया और कहीं रख दिया, तो 40 लाख के जो खर्चे हैं ना, वो तो आपके निकल जाएंगे. अब थंब रूल का बेसिस क्या है? दैट फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ यू मेक अ 6% or 7% return, if you were to put it in some bonds, FDs, wherever, get a very modest 7%, pay tax on it, तो post tax 4% तो बच ही जाएगा. And of course, if you invest it very well in equities, you diversify it in different asset classes, then of course that corpus will also keep growing. So I think, which is a basic thumb rule, it of course changes from person to person, but this is a way to think about it.
This is interesting. How can someone think of wealth creation? Someone who has just started in his career, working somewhere, maybe in the middle of their career. What means can they adopt to generate wealth? Or like what is wealth as per you?
So if you look at a formula, mathematical formula, स्कूल में पढ़ाते हैं कि income minus expenses is equal to savings.
Savings.
Right. Now those savings के आगे the next formula is the savings you invest at the right place so that you get the right kind of return. I feel where most people in personal finance end up spending their maximum time is, this is my saving, where can I best invest it so that I can get 12% or I can get 10%? FD is giving me 4%, 5%. I can do this. If this compounds for so many years, this will add up to this much wealth. And why? Because this thought is a sexy thought which has been pushed down to the masses by companies which sell equities because they want to entice customers to put their money in equities. Not saying it's wrong. It's absolutely mathematically correct. But if someone's thought about wealth creation is only towards, I'll save this and should I put it in this stock or should I put it in index fund or इतना bonds में डाल देता हूँ, इतना real estate में डाल देता हूँ, आप इतनी अपनी mental bandwidth उस चीज़ पे खर्च कर रहे हो मैनेज करने में, जो करना चाहिए, बट उसकी जगह what I'm saying is the mental bandwidth spend should be 90-10. 10% of wealth creation will come from here.
Are you someone who is a number person or with a like flow person ki jo, or very people work in those blocks कि हाँ इस टाइम पे यही करना है, others like a flow state कि जो mind कर रहा है वैसे करना है?
See, I think I'll give you an actual example from my life on how I function, and maybe then you can answer that for me because you're definitely the expert on this. But for example, in health, Now I realize I need to improve certain aspects of my health. So I have, for the past, I used to work out a lot. I used to go to the gym every single day, like 6 days in a week and stuff. And then the pandemic hit, and then my metrics changed that, okay, I need to do these number of push-ups every day and walk at least 10,000 steps every day. And I've been able to do that for the past, 3 years now. But initially, when you're starting such a thing, now it's become a habit for me. I have an Excel sheet. So my Excel sheet has a calendar. All the rows are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which are the dates. And the columns are things that I need to build as habits for my life. So the first set of columns are health, that I need to do 10,000 steps a day, or I need to do at least 50 push-ups daily. The third thing is I need to do this much of meditation or praying just to kind of calm my mind down. So that's, say, the health angle. Fifth, now what I've added is I need to have these nutraceuticals or something just to ensure I'm getting all the nutrients. Another is no sugar. So there are certain days where I switch on that no sugar thing. This is health aspect. Then there is an upskilling aspect on that Excel sheet. The first bit is, did I read at least 10 good articles on business today? Because that's my business. I mean, I'm in the business of consulting people, so I need to read.
Yes.
Am I reading a book which is adding to my core knowledge? Did I read at least 30 pages of that book today? So there are cells defined for everything I want to do in my life, and on a daily basis, I mark it red, amber or green. When you see your performance and you gamify it for yourself, कि मेरे को रोज ये तो करना है, मेरे को green row चाहिए. It's very silly.
I love that.
But it's gamifying
Yes,
yourself.
it
And
works.
after a point, what happens is, for example, if it's become a part of my daily identity and routine to do 10,000 steps, that column from my Excel can be hidden, because now I don't need to track myself. I know purely out of habit I will end up doing it. So I use that habit tracker framework or something to do those little things on a daily basis as a habit that I want to build. And I've normally seen that if I do something for 6 months, it can very easily just fit into my routine, and then I don't need to track it. And then I just need to track, okay, what is the next thing that I want to get upskilled at, or next thing I want to improve in my life. For example, if for a period of time I felt like, I had some work deadlines, my wife had work deadlines, both of us worked together, and it was taking a lot of our time, and we weren't really getting time to just unwind. And then I blocked out on that Excel this time, no work, and we'll go on a vacation, we'll do this. Then the vacation type also gets defined by, okay, what kind of experience do I want? Because I want mental sanity. We'll build in yoga, we'll build in like a nature retreat, and not go to a city and do shopping and this and that. So when you put it on an Excel, I actually calculate that in this month of 30 days, what was my percentage of completing this goal of no sugar?
Wow.
So if 50% of the days I hit no sugar, in the next month, I need it to be at least 51 or 52% and not lower than 50%. So from that aspect, I'm definitely a numbers person. And I feel that puts you in a better flow, because suddenly you're taking care of your health, you're taking care of your finances, you're taking care of your upskilling.
Sarthak, what's your unfair advantage?
My unfair advantage? Great question. And I'll tell you why. This is a story I often tell people. Is there are a lot of venture capital firms in the world. But the one which has constantly outperformed people for over 40 years, outperformed the competition, is actually Sequoia. And once the managing partner at Sequoia was asked that, how have you been able to consistently outperform the competition? Because people say it's a matter of luck, which startup you've picked, which will turn into a unicorn and give you returns. It's fluke for most funds, but if you've done it for 40 years, there's something which is working for you.
Yes.
And he said, there is constant paranoia in us that we will become irrelevant or be removed by the competition. And that paranoia fuels us to constantly learn more and more and keep getting better and better. So I feel my unfair advantage is, I feel I know nothing. And because I feel I know nothing, and I'm just a 12-year-old, and there is so much to capture in life and so much value to give. I think my career is at a restart every day, because the day I stop learning or I feel I'm an expert at something, that's the beginning of my downfall. So I feel daily, I'm like, I need to start my career today. What should I learn today which will make me relevant in 3 years, 4 years? So when every day I start my day with that, I don't think that I'm not a tech guy, I won't understand AI, I won't understand blockchain. A lot of books on blockchain, start reading, a lot of books on AI. I'll try to figure out how can I make a tool using AI. Is there any open source thing which I can connect to a no-code tool and build a product to solve a use case for someone? I feel that's my unfair advantage, because anyone else who's an expert, I definitely think is much, 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 much better than me. But the drive in learning I have, I feel I'll give crazy kick-ass competition to anyone.
You will for sure. Help me understand the statement that I know nothing. It is good to strike that learning curve in you, कि मुझे और सीखना है, लेकिन खुद से ये बात करना कि यार I know nothing and I'm not, मुझे नहीं पता. Doesn't it like lower down your self-confidence?
So, like I spoke about the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? एक पॉइंट होता है जब आपको बिल्कुल आपको लगता है आप किसी की लाइफ में कुछ वैल्यू नहीं दे पा रहे हो. एट दैट पॉइंट नोइंग यू नो नथिंग is a framework to get you started on a journey that in the next few months, weeks, years, I will gain value, I will collect value so that I have something to give to society. It helps you come out of a low self-confidence. Just this one start. And I feel downfall begins when people feel, oh, you know, I've gone through that journey. Now I've come to a place where I've achieved this. You know, when I go in front of 10,000 people, they all say, wow, like, what an impact. And when you feel, I am satisfied, I've created immense impact today, you lose out on what really pulled you out of a low that one day and got you here. So I feel just knowing कि रोज वो feeling is actually a fuel that pulls you out of underconfidence and not put you in underconfidence. Okay. So it's about what action you take, you know. So that curiosity, I call it actioned curiosity, that if it's only curiosity कि कुछ नहीं आता और आप उस पर कुछ action नहीं लोगे, it will take you towards underconfidence. But if you take action in the right direction, it will actually lift your confidence up, because every day you will feel, oh, I've learned something new, so I'm at least better than what I was yesterday. That's the easiest way to uplift your self-confidence.
Sarthak, you overcame your fears which you had. Initially जो friction होता है, लगता है डर कि यार ये कैसे होगा, तो वाला पार्ट कैसे किया कवर?
देखो, एक चीज़ होती है कि when you have nothing to lose, when you realize ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या हो जाएगा,
इज्जत है, रेपुटेशन है, लोग क्या कहेंगे, तो कभी ऐसा लगा नहीं आपको कि अरे यार व्हाट आई राइट एंड अगर सपोज फेल हो गया, ये सब लगता है डर किसी को भी कि इफ आई ट्राई दिस तो.
करेक्ट. सो आई टेल यू, व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड दैट ब्लॉग, राइट, because we took that example, so I'll carry it forward. My friends asked me, oh, why are you writing this? And I said, see, college is about to get over. I have all of you as friends. How will I update you about what is happening in my life? You know, back then, remember, there used to be Facebook and people there was no Instagram and stuff, but WhatsApp had just started. And, you know, there are only so many people you can be in touch with consciously when you get into work and you start building a career. I said, this is my way to put out on public display only for my friends' consumption as to what is happening in my life. Maybe they're absolutely not interested. Maybe my life is absolutely uninteresting. But only my friends who are interested can come and read and see what he's feeling and what he's doing.
So was it a way to say to yourself that, okay, because if I publicly announce that, see, Sarthak the blogger has arrived, the stakes are really high, expectations are really high.
Correct.
But as a child maybe, or as someone who was a bit fearful for anything, let me push it like subtly so that लोगों को मुझसे उम्मीदें ना रहें और मैं बच जाऊंगा.
Correct. So you know, when you reduce the stakes, which helps you start off.
Yes. So true.
That's That's how you start the journey.
एल्स मैक्सिमम सोचते हैं कि नहीं यार, अगर मैंने अनाउंस कर दिया तो मुझे परफॉर्म करना पड़ेगा, परफॉर्म नहीं हुआ तो ऐसा हो जाएगा, एंड दैट इज लाइक डोमिनो इफेक्ट व्हिच जस्ट
या मैं बोलूँ कल को मैं यूनिकॉर्न बना दूंगा 5 साल में, तो वो तो बहुत ही डिफिकल्ट है, आप शुरू ही नहीं कर पाओगे, इतना डर जाओगे कि
सर है ना
हाँ, वो तो
He's
वो
like,
अलग
third
उनके
unicorn बनाऊंगा मैं.
उनके तो
But he's good.
चरण स्पर्श, he's done it.
He's done it,
See,
yes.
so he's at that position where if you were to ask him that question, what has changed, he will say maybe at that time I didn't think I would be able to do it, but because I've done it twice, मैं तो कर ही लूँगा. You know, but for someone who's starting, I feel if you reduce the stakes and if you say, you know what, I just want to be able to turn a business where I have 10 clients and I can add value to them and just make this much money, and then we'll take it from there. It just helps you propel yourself forward and have small daily goals. I feel more than 5-year vision, 10-year vision, just have like daily, how can I be a better version of myself today? How can I add value to people's lives who are clients, customers, general audience who watches me, my family, my spouse? How can I make this day better for them and for myself? You start with that one question and do that daily. I think you will become a unicorn. Forget your startup or anything.
We spoke about like Ashneer sir, right? So he always says that कि जब तक है Grover, it's not over. So what would like Sarthak say?
Sarthak Ahuja और ना कोई दूजा.
अरे वाह, this is nice. Awesome, Sarthak. It was an absolute delight having you on this show, and I love the insights. I'm sure that जितने ऑथेंटिक आप दिखते हैं ऑन स्क्रीन, आप उतने ऑथेंटिक असली में हैं. यू हैव प्रोफाउंड विजडम विच इज़ वेरी रेयर इन द फील्ड ऑफ कंटेंट क्रिएशन. हम देखते हैं लोगों को बहुत सारे हैं जो कि क्लेम करते हैं दैट दे नो इट, बट स्पेंडिंग टाइम विद यू ओवर ईयर, I could see that depth, and you have so much of wisdom to share with the world. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. You're being very generous. Like I said, I know nothing, so the career
अच्छी
has
बात है
just
आपकी.
started.
Thank you so much, Sarthak.
Thank you, Divas.
Awesome.
All right, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm sure these insights will help you grow in your career. We will come up with an amazing guest in our next episode. You tell me, whom do you want to see in the next podcast? Do let me know in the comment section. And also do like, share and comment. See, we all put a lot of effort in bringing such valuable podcasts for you. So keep supporting and share with at least one person in your contact, please. Till then, stay awesome, stay productive.